Do carbs make you fat? I feel like carbs have become, and in particular sugar, has become they've become a huge villain, right? You know, the whole low-fat craze made us eat more carbs and more sugar, which caused the obesity epidemic, etc., etc., etc. But it's just not true, right? I mean, there is nothing inherently fattening about carbs or sugar, okay? Carbs and sugar have no inherent impact on fat loss. I mean, we now have 28 different controlled studies where we keep everything the same other than the fact, and we lock people in the room so there's no cheating, and all we do is give people either high carb or low carb. And then there are also other studies where we do high sugar versus low sugar. And if we keep the calories the same, the fat loss is identical. Okay, it has no impact. It's just calories. That is it. You can eat as many carbs and as much sugar as you want, and as long as you control calories, you will lose fat. Not suggesting you do that, but it's physics, okay? It's the law of thermodynamics. You will lose fat. Now, there are nuances here, and I'm going to start with, like I say, you shouldn't eat a crap ton of sugar. Nobody is suggesting that. But the health sort of detriments of sugar come from overconsumption of calories. They make you eat more food. Okay, so sugar makes you eat more food. Why? Because it's palatable, right? It tastes good. And I tend to find when people say, oh, when I cut out carbs, I lost loads of weight, or I always overeat carbs, or I always crave carbs. And then I ask them, okay, so what foods are you talking about when you say this? And they'll say things like pizza, donuts, ice cream, cakes, chocolate, cookies. That's a list off my head. But foods like this, right? And the issue here is they're not just sugar, okay? You can't blame your overeating of these foods on sugar. Why? Because, well, for a start, if you actually look at the nutritional information of these foods, the majority of them have more calories coming from fat than they do from sugar, okay? So to blame just sugar would be completely ignorant of that fact. And that's the point that a lot of the time people miss. It's not just sugar that makes food taste good. Fat does as well, okay? What would ice cream, pizza, donuts, cakes be without sugar? They probably wouldn't taste great, right? But what would they be without fat? They probably wouldn't taste great either. And fat is put into foods to make it palatable too, along with salt and texture and taste. And then if you look at other attributes of these foods that make them us want to eat them, things like calorie density, you can eat, eating just a little bit of it is high calories. They can pack a lot of calories into a small package. And then again, you've got taste, texture, salt, on top of fat, sugar, and you have to put all of these together. You can't just blame sugar here. It's, a myriad of factors all coming together which makes these foods palatable. Nobody's eating pure sugar. Nobody craves eating sugar out of a bag, right? We crave foods that have all of those properties that I've talked about before, packaged into one sort of big package kind of thing. And that's what makes us want to eat those foods. Now, am I saying that sugar is good and we should eat it, just because it's not sort of the sole contributor? No, of course not. And, it has no sort of nutrient benefit, and it is kind of empty calories. But again, you can't just blame sugar. You can't just blame carbs, because that's ignoring all of those other factors. And again, you've got to look at, there's a complete opposite spectrum of carbohydrates here, right? We have these carbs that are high in all of those factors that I've said, and then we have carbs that are the opposite, right? We have things like fruit, veg, legumes, potatoes, oats, whole grains, that don't have all those factors that I've talked about. And these can be built into a very good diet. A lot of those foods are high in fiber, they're low in calorie density. So the opposite of what we talked about earlier, where we can package lots of calories into a small package, we have these foods that I've just mentioned that are the total opposite. We can eat lots of them for very little calories. And they also, a lot of them tend to be higher in fiber. And that combination is very satiating. So 4 out of the top 5 foods on the satiety index are carbs. Okay, potatoes, apples, oranges, and oats are all in the top 5 of the satiety index. These foods make us feel full. Why? Because of what I just talked about. Okay, they're low in calorie density and they're higher in fiber. So to summarize, no, carbs don't make you fat. A combination of lots of different factors packaged into these really delicious products makes you want to overeat them, which makes you gain weight. Okay, so you can eat as many carbs as you want, it doesn't matter. But again, probably better to focus on those ones that we talked about at the end there. Your fruit, your veg, your legumes, your oats, your whole grains. Focus on those, because I don't like saying good carbs versus bad carbs, because no foods are inherently bad for you. But if that helps you to define between the two, that's up to you. But you know what I mean when I say that. So no, carbs don't make you fat on their own. They can be actually very beneficial to a weight loss program. If you want to eat them, do so. If you don't, don't. Again, as always, it's individual. But if you are going to eat them, probably better to focus on some rather than others. So hopefully you got some value from that, guys. If you did, please feel free to interact on the video as always. I do appreciate it. Just hit a like, drop a comment, something that's resonated with you, something that you might try now. It's always cool to hear people are finding the video helpful. So please do interact on the video as much as you can. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. You should be able to do so in the top corner of this video, just so you get an alert on new videos, because these tips, all these free tips, are coming quick and thick and fast. So make sure you don't miss out on those. Thank you very much as always for tuning in, and I shall see you next time.